Hi people, this is part 1 of episode 5 of Blender for Beginners series called From Zero to Hero. In this tutorial I will show you how to make this helix, DNA helix. You can see it's of course a very simplified model of the DNA, but it's all about how it looks and not making it scientifically accurate. So you learn how to use materials and some effects and rendering, and let's get started. In this particular video, at the end you should get something like that, and later in the next video we'll improve that and make it cooler with this background, glow, particles and so on. So in this video we'll model this helix and add some base materials and just try basic rendering, and then we'll improve it in the next video, or maybe there will be even part 3, I'm not yet sure, but the second part will be available soon, so don't worry, and subscribe if you are already not subscribed, so you will be notified. And yeah, let's start. Okay, cool. So I have a default Blender scene and there is our cube. So let's go into edit mode and scale it like that. Go to top view with pressing 7 on numeric keypad and move it like that. Now you can squash it by z-axis and we have something like that, right? And go to modifiers and add a modifier, and it will be mirror modifier. So we will be making those main stems of DNA helix. Okay, and let's now stretch it by y like that. Okay, maybe move it a bit by x, let me see, something like that. Okay, and maybe scale it like that also. And now change to edge selection, select those 4 edges and Ctrl B to make a small bevel like that. You can feel free to make it quite differently. I will keep it simple, but yeah, this is a proposal how to do it. Select those 2 faces now, press X and remove only faces. So we have a shell like that, and we will duplicate it multiple times. So we'll have those 2 main branches of the DNA helix, right? And yeah, I'll show you right away. Add a modifier and array. Change it to like, I don't know, 100. Too much. Okay, 100, and by default it is using x-axis, so let's make it 0, and now let's change it to 1 by z-axis. So you can see we have stuff like that, like 2 rails of those main branches of helix, right? And now we need to add these horizontal segments. So to do that, let's maybe select something, press dot to zoom in and select that face, duplicate it, escape and scale it like that. Okay, something like that, and SZ like that, and remove the face but leave the edges. Change to edge selection, select the loop and extrude it by X like that. And now what we have to do is select this clipping and this merge also. Okay, and now move it way to the middle of the x-axis, right? Nice. So we have this, it's looking more like a ladder than DNA for now, but don't worry, let's make it smooth. So right click and make it smooth. It's still quite blocky because we need to add more resolution to that, but don't worry. What we'll do now is go to front view like that and Shift A, curve and path. Okay, and now go to edit mode, deselect everything, select those two and those two control points, X, vertices. So what we're left with is one control point, so we can zoom out like that and control right click something here. So now we have those two control points. You don't have to be really precise here because it doesn't matter in this case, and you can of course zoom in, and if you want select this and like correct it a bit, but it doesn't matter too much. Okay, having those two selected, go to segments and use subdivide and expand this and make number of cuts like that. Okay, so now exit edit mode and select the DNA. By the way, let's rename it DNA. Okay, and this will be deformer. Okay, so select this. You can collapse those two, and I have some issue with my mouse because my other mouse broke and I need to order new one, so sorry for some misclicks. Okay, select the deform curve, okay, and now pick the deformer, and it messed up a bit our model, but don't worry because it just needs to be z-axis. So now we have it back, and you not see any deformation because we have this really straight path, but if you like move something, you see it's actually deforms, right? Okay, we can zoom in a bit, and now what we'll do is let's enable the proportional editing because we want to twist that DNA to make it look like DNA and not like a ladder. And yeah, we'll twist it, and we want to make it evenly, so pick linear like that. Sorry, to select it and use linear. And now if you use this control point tilt, you can see we can tilt it like that, and you can use a mouse wheel or a page up, page down to make the influence. And let's make it like that, so it covers the whole curve like that. And you could move a mouse, but it would be quite tedious because we want to have quite a lot of spin. So let's just type something like 1000. Okay, that looks quite nice. You can also adjust it here if you want, but that would do for me. And remember, this is more about materials and rendering and not about modeling. So if you want to make your DNA look a bit differently, just spend more time with this, but I will not focus on that. And yeah, it's looking quite good actually. What we can do is select this, and now maybe select here and Control R and make like 3 loop cuts. And this is because we'll have nicer deformations here. We have some artifact here on the bottom, but we will not render here, so don't worry about that. Okay, so this is looking like that, and because we have it modified, we want to make it less blocky, so let's add a subdivision surface modifier. Okay, subdivision surface, right, and it's looking nice. Okay, so now let's add some materials. So go here, select this shading options, and you can see already something changed, but not too much, right? But if you go here to the material tabs, you can see you can change the color. So let's do that. Let's pick some blue Feel free to use different color. This is just an example, and I'm adding a bit of this subsurface, which is how the light reacts to objects like skin or wax. So it goes in a bit and bounce back, and it gives a nice effect. But yeah, you can just experiment with those different values. And it's my mouse again. Okay, so yeah, I will just play with some values, and I will not use too many of those, but something like that. We have nice effect, and you can play with it as you want. And now go to front view and zoom out like that. Hit tab to enter edit mode. Zoom in here. Okay, and having something from this segment selected, press L to select everything. If it will not select, because sometimes it's happening, just select different edge, face or vertice and press L. Okay, we have it selected, so let's add a new material slot and add a material like that. Okay, and now we have to assign those selected faces to this material, so hit assign, and you already see we have a different color, right? So, and it's not only color, it's different material, and you can change it like that, something like that. I will not spend too much time on it, basically pretty much leave it with some default values, and you can of course feel free to play with it. And now you can check how it will look in the camera. So hit this. My mouse again. Thank you, mouse. It's having a lot of misclicks. Yeah, but the other one is worse, so I have to use this before I will get a new one. Okay, so this is the active camera, and it's by default located to like watch for a center of the scene, and we can of course move it and rotate it just like any other Blender object. Okay, and you can also use a 0 or on a numeric keypad. So if you have numeric keypad, 0 is the same like with 7, 1, 3, it's a shortcut, right? Okay, so what we would like to do is maybe add some bend to that DNA. So let's do it. Okay, and let's select the deformer and go to edit mode, and let's deform it a bit, maybe from front view. Okay, and let's disable the proportional editing, and yeah, let me check. Okay, let's see. Just don't go too crazy to avoid some too strong deformations, but otherwise just play with it a bit. Okay, I don't know, something like that. Let's see. Okay, camera, and what we want to do now, let's maybe rotate it like this, move it a bit, and now press N to enter this edit panel and change it to view, and use this lock camera to view. And this way, if you just navigate, you can basically change the camera alignment. So let's try to find some interesting place on that DNA. You can still of course use G and R, so just use what you need to find something interesting. Okay, I will just play with it a bit like that. Okay, and maybe let's add the just remember to uncheck it if you want to lock it here. Okay, so now we can go to edit mode and change something. So let's maybe move it a bit like that, so we have this curve, so it will be more interesting because it's starting here and it's bigger and then it's like fade up. Okay, something like that, maybe. Okay, you can spend more time, but this is good enough for just demonstration purposes. It is all about the materials and the rendering, so if you want to have a better looking or like differently looking helix, just spend more time on modeling and aligning camera and bending and so on. Okay, so let me check how it will be rendered, right? Because we want to have it rendered. Before that, just go here to for this tab, the top one here, and change render engine from Eevee to cycles. Just a quick note, Eevee is a quick render engine, like similar what you have in games. So it is really fast, but it has some limitations, especially with the accuracy of lighting, and the cycles is more precise, but it's also slower, so you get something, you know, there are pros and cons. In this tutorial we will use cycles, okay? And just remember to save your scene if you haven't already. Yes, so let's try to render it. Render image. You can also press F12, it is a shortcut, so if you make a lot of renders, it is good to know. And you can already see we have those colors, and yeah, it is something. It is quite dark and dull though, so let's escape it because we know what to expect and don't want to spend too much time. Okay, and what we want to do now, let's check. Okay, we don't want to have it selected now. Let's go to front view and Shift A, mesh plane, and maybe scale it up a bit. And now go to materials, add new, and change this material type to emission. And this will basically act like a softbox light. So yeah, like in photography or video recording, we will have this nice and even lighting. Okay, so let's move it like here. Okay, something like that. I don't need to be too precise. And let's type some value. Let's now duplicate it and rotate, maybe move it. So we have some lighting from there and from here. And this is the place where our camera is looking at. So like that. Let me check how it looks. Render image, and we can see that already our image is better. We have more highlights and it is not that dark, but let's maybe cancel it and crank it up a bit, so it will have even more of those reflections. Okay, like let's make it twice, more than twice. Okay, and let's render. By the way, I changed it in one plane, but because it was duplicated, it was sharing the properties, not only properties, it was sharing the same material. So both got like this strength twice as much. Okay, and we see now we have more highlights. Yeah, so we can play with the materials now a bit, but basically that is what we wanted to achieve in this tutorial. Don't worry about this noise. It is because of the number of samples we are using, and because we are making quite a lot of test renders. We don't want to spend too much time on those, so I'm using a quite low number of samples, and we will make it higher in the next video, and it will be more smooth and nice. So feel free to play with those materials and camera settings, how to find an interesting fragment of this DNA to render it. Yeah, that would be it for this video. I hope you learned something, and if you are not subscribed, please do so. The next video and a continuation of this tutorial will be released really soon, like within a day or something. So yeah, have a nice time and bye.